There we go. Hello, hello. We did a fun thing where we asked people what they thought might be in the crates. Some of you might have actually said what you thought. If you want to even put in the chat what you think we're going to find, please do. I'm going to go on our Instagram and see what some people thought were going to be in the crate. Okay, from the guesses, somebody wanted to see Jim hiding in a crate like a big cake surprise, which I didn't give you enough warning.
I guess I could just bend down. Oh, no, not a good idea.
Mitch wants to see ampersands, the really, really big ones. I do like a couple people thought we would find treasure. So I'm really hoping we find some treasure as we go throughout.
It's all treasure.
Right.
It's all treasure.
We've already peeked at the top one, if I'm going to be honest. Let's see. Oh, typetom.com is stuff he wants. So you can let us know if you want it, but we can't do much about it. But we'll let you look at it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice to know.
We've also got the guess of some rodeo stuff. So,
well, there's good chance of that. A good chance.
On this group, we're getting Jimmy Hoffa, mouse poop, and champagne. Tom Walker hopes there's beer in there, and that's just because he's in the building.
Yes.
He probably wants there to be beer in there.
Well, I notice he's not here to collect it. If we, one of the reasons that the crates are so random is that you had certain ones that they packed up with the intention of reprinting with. So they're very well organized. Some cases, 2-sheet blocks are even slip sheeted. So they're perfect and they're sequential. But you know how it is. You move out of a house, you pack up books, and then suddenly it's like just loaded up. And so you find things that are in a given crate only because they fit, and that's all.
So I am going to do just one little housekeeping thing, even though we are in the building. A lot of these Hamiton hangs, we are not in the building. And this is fun to kind of bring it back in and show some of the stuff we've got. So if you don't know, I'm Stephanie Carpenter. I am the program officer here at Hamiton. And this...
I am Jim Moran, the master printer and collections officer and crate opener.
And that is why we are partners in crime for this Hamiton hang today. So, so regulars will know I haven't had this is being recorded sign in forever because I put it in a really safe spot and I found that really safe spot. So this beautiful reminder, which this is being recorded, was made by Rick Griffith. So if you don't want to be seen on the screen, because we do share these recordings on YouTube after the fact, you can turn off your video. We are doing something a little different. You guys are our friends. There might be around 60 to 80 of you today. If you feel like unmuting, you're not allowed to heckle us. But if you want to enjoy in the humor and the cool things we find, you can unmute and comment out loud today because we know most of you. And so that's a fun way to do it. So we're not having the same kind of like muteness that we normally have during the ham hangs. Right. If you cause trouble, I will still mute you and I'll boot you out. You can imagine the smile underneath my mask. It'll be a very nice booting. You might have already noticed we have 2 cameras. So this one is called Hamilton Wood Type Museum. And this is where all the sound will be coming out of this one. And we'll leave this here for the most part, unless we need to move it so you can see. There's also one called the Hamilton Action Cam. And I will either spotlight, depending on which one might be able to see it better, and kind of get in there and show you some of the close-up stuff. So to that end,
should we get started?
Yes.
All right. Background for those of you who are unfamiliar with the question or the collection. Enquirer Printing is still in Cincinnati, but in 1985 they stopped doing letterpress and moved to offset. They sold us their collection of blocks and type and other things 4 years ago. And so initially what they said is, well, be ready because this could fill 2.5 semis. And then I thought, well, I think we got room for that. So we looked at the collection. They began sort of rounding things up. And then we left and got a call from them. And they said, Jim, it looks like it may not fit in 3 semis. And so we said, okay, we'll clear a little more room out. And maybe a week later, after the first load had been delivered, they said, so Jim, when the 5th semi comes, it's going to be packed. And that was news to me. In the end, this was 109 crates, a little bit of pallet racking, and some miscellaneous cabinets. So I think, yes. So today it's time for number 53. Don't assume that I've opened 52 already. I have not. I believe I'm about, I don't know, 40 cartons into it or something like that. As you can imagine, I can get picky, so I do. If I open up a crate and the first thing I see are insurance company coloring books, I dismiss that. But there's interesting things to learn about the Enquirer printing company and the way they packaged. So when you've got a big collection like this, sometimes they would put the number of the poster on it, some bit of an ID number that goes in the corner. But I'm going to open an earlier one before that. And so you can see the rope that they use to tie these things together. And the nice thing is there's actually it looks like a proof on top. Better still, because a lot of this stuff, there's no way to know what colors they were, or more particularly registration. So we're going to begin with Bob and Sally. What I can tell you is that it is concerning sex, marriage, and alcoholism. So we're off to a great start. Well, I guess we'll see what we got going on here. I was telling the group earlier that these are often pretty filthy, so that one of the first aspects of this is to vacuum them off. So the cleaning is done with mineral spirits. Looks like we got a background block there and some sort of a highlighter. So here we go, Bob and Sally magnesium block. Looks like it was done in yellow, you can see. Halftone, this looks like Bob or standing over Sally. I'm guessing there, or unsure. And then, well, Bob and Sally. So what you've got is the positive and the negative of this piece. So, so here you go. I'll tell you what, I want to read a little bit of that for those of you who have eyes like mine. Social Guidance Enterprises presents the story of Bob and Sally. It does have an all-star Hollywood cast, so that's a great thing. That includes Earl Kenton and J.G. Samford. And maybe those names mean as much to you as they do to me, which is nothing. But, you know, this is on stage and in person. So this is the man who calls a spade a spade. So direct, if nothing else. Now, I'm not sure why, but in fine print, it does say that nurses are in attendance. I don't know what they would do, but it is shocking because it's true. And, well, you know, we've got political conventions these days, so that is not an unusual thing. And it's also daring because it pulls no punches. So, object one, Bob and Sally. I may not get around to printing that anytime soon, but that's all right. You can always put in your requests. So now, whoa. Okay. 89 CB, I have never learned what those things mean.
We do have a helpful person in the chat area for everyone who's on the call. Mr. Paul Pignato is our collections person who actually goes through the entire collection here at Hamilton. What's your official title, Paul? Jim?
Collections manager. I'm the collections officer.
Oh, of course.
When he's here, I report to him. When he's out in California, well, then I can. Then no, he doesn't.
Then you can open cases.
Yeah, then I can open. All right. So the first thing that we see is this tiger circus poster, and it is number 66 FP, which has nothing to do with 89C, which was on the front. So, all right. And in fact, it's just packing, but a lot of times the packing is critical because if we don't have the poster to go with those blocks, which are somewhere down the line, then those become valuable. So I'm sure everybody recognizes that immediately. And I know Paul's saying, well, yeah, it's a line of elephants, of course. And in fact, he is right. So this Clyde Beatty circus poster does have a line of elephants.
Hey, it's a line of elephants.
What's that?
I said, hey, it's a line of elephants.
See, your powers of observation are not diminished despite not being here. We're fortunate that we've got a proof on the back. Many times the proof is from God knows where, right? We all just use make ready as we can. So that's the blue plate, at least based on the way it's dyed. Yellow, magnesium, Clyde Beatty, Cole Brothers, big name in circus. We have a lot of blocks of theirs. But so now the world's largest circus, they have the greatest elephant herd. So I guess, you know, it seems rather appropriate. Maybe that's a little more helpful. But, you know, in many ways, typical, sort of a three-color piece, but then we do have the enhanced elephants. So it's probably a case where the gray of the elephant is going over their background yellow block. Because elephants are yellow and gray, I guess. All right, well, we're off to a good start.
Yeah, cautionary tales, circuses.
Well, you know, sex, marriage, and elephants, I think it obviously goes together, so that's nice. Yeah, hard to read here. Steph, could I have mineral spirits and a rag? When we begin, we always just begin by vacuuming because there's so much stuff here. But one of the things you become adept at, of course, is reading partial letters and then recognizing them from other things. So this is all we've got of this one. The Auto Dare, yeah, Dare D. Auto Daredevils is probably Jimmy Lynch, who operated in the late 30s. He had both the Daredevil drivers and the Death Eaters, so multi-talented, right? But this is all we've got from this one, and it's broken. So maybe the rest is down in here somewhere. So I guess we'll move on.
No beer?
Not yet.
Tom Walker, you're not allowed to get in here and
I really, oh, excuse me.
no, it's good.
I love these fragments because they're quite interesting, and everybody who's done multicolor printing knows that sometimes the separations are sort of unique on their own. And maybe this will be a guide, because this blue is not a standard, right? It's not process or reflex. It's quite soft. And so I get the feeling that this could be make ready because of the way there's actually layers of it. But it looks like we might have the blocks underneath it. So, whoa. King Brothers, or how you can...
I'll go back to the other one.
All right. King Brothers Circus, typical frightening clown, only worse when you get to see what he looks like there. Sorry if I'm giving anybody nightmares tonight, but, well, I live with it, so you will too, I guess. But the upside, right? We get a separation and a print and an idea of the color. So not bad. You can see it's kind of dirty though, right? So we'll clean that up and work our way through. Obviously the red plate, I'm sure cut because there was no copy up there, or because King Brothers and Cole Brothers are interchangeable on a poster. So ideally, in this case, you've got a circus with a 4-letter name that can be placed in there. So thank you, Steph. So now I can read King Brothers Circus and the fact that this is blue. But as you saw from the proof, it's not a straight blue. So, well, anyway, but King can be replaced, right? It could say Ray's Circus, you know, although Ray's got his own circus to deal with, but you know what I'm saying. But that was actually the black, now that I look at it.
It does have a blue tinge to it, though.
It does. And let's go back for a moment here. It's a little more interesting because you can see there's the outline red, but then we have the interior. And so that helps. It spells better that way. So it's kind of nice. You're highlighting the letters with an interior black finish plate. So in between those two,
I see Moran Brothers Circus.
you know, there is such a thing, but it's rather difficult to identify because it's movable, right? And there's your light blue plate. So it says King Brothers Circus on the back, but this is, you know, what we are always looking for a number of reasons: identification, or order of printing, or light, you know, light blue.
Or that it was Christiani at one point.
So,
yeah.
Good eye, Steph. So there's your advantage. You can run this poster for Christiani Brothers or King Brothers or Cole Brothers.
Maybe they just use really condensed type for Christiani.
Well, yeah, right. So.
Ooh, I think I might get the action cam for this one.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to switch to the action cam because this one's nice to see. This is what we see when we actually get to start to open these guys up. I'm going to sneak in.
Oh.
B.D. Cole Brothers, Clyde B.D. Cole, the human projectile. I don't know that it's a great job, but there is an interesting story that another human projectile, known by the name of the Mighty Wilno or something like that, was actually a trapeze artist, and sadly the rope broke and he fell and hurt himself so badly that when he came back to join the circus, he decided to become someone who was a lot safer. and apparently being shot out of a cannon was safer than the trapeze. You know, that's up to him, I guess. But
Now, this is interesting because I don't think we often see initials, do we?
nope, and again, that's a good catch. So what I'll show you,
Okay, I'll switch to the other camera again.
all right?
Don't you like our production team? Okay, go for it.
All right, so it's kind of hard to see, but in the lower left, you've got the initials RB. I'm trying to remember the name of the artist now, but I've only seen it in one other one. That one, of course, I know everybody's saying, oh yeah, Big Otto, the blood-sweating hippopotamus from the Nile. And of course, you're right. Why he focused on these two posters is, you know, nice artwork though, but you do get a sense of the separations. I may not cut this one apart just because this is incredibly fragile and I want to keep this image intact. I have not seen this piece in the collection. So for the moment, I will set that aside.
And a hand with the other side.
Yes, we'll set it over here. Sorry to do that to you. I like to open them once we get a chance, but there's more. Well, I mean, if that isn't exciting as all get out. However, it is connected to.
Oh, more than you think.
All right, so now we've got a segmented piece here. We'll sort of take this apart by degrees. That doesn't mean anything yet, I'm sure, but I see a leg. No, I see two legs, which is good. But you know, you've got the freaks and the oddities, so you can actually see three legs on an individual character. But all right, so we've got someone here, and then turn that sideways, Steph. No, I mean horizontally. There you go. That's more helpful because yeah, and
starting to see it.
And then it makes more sense right here. So that's most likely the black plate. And then you've got the red highlights of the individuals.
Oh yeah, and even upside down maybe.
The problem is when we randomly find something like that, doesn't mean anything to anybody. And so it goes in the orphanage until we can figure out what it might belong to. This one, I would say, was really close to the coal bin because it is grittier than anything. So now we're probably looking at the bottom. So going back to, let's say that one, Steph. We're now looking at something of a banner style. These things were often about 26 by 12, and of course 26 takes advantage of paper size, but progressively it looks like yellow background, red overprint. Ooh. Well, now we've moved into elephants, so now we have something to figure out. Completely different poster wrapped in the same package. Either that or there was a picture on either end of it.
I have seen those where you have a picture top and bottom.
Right. Well, you know, this has the giraffes. So maybe, you know, you got to get it all in.
Animals and trapeze.
Yep. And here is the yellow background for that. There's nothing of value on the back. And then, of course, 6-point border rule, just in case you needed it. I probably won't rewrap this one.
Okay.
So, all right, moving on. Any questions that I should be answering at this point?
Somebody was asking about size. Paul was doing his best for guessing the sizes
Excellent.
on those. So yeah, Paul Pignato is our online partner in crime. You can trust what he says, we promise. At least in this. Somebody also said like who might have packed it, and it would be people at Enquirer, correct?
Yeah, you know, but that's where it becomes tricky because we all know that there are certain printing jobs that come and go, and so you might have done a specific job for BD Cole and they didn't repeat that one. They didn't want that particular subject anymore. Maybe the giant projectile, you know, hit a wall and isn't with the circus anymore. All of these things could have happened. So, but we know that they packed up some in, what year would that have been? 2016 when we got the collection, or 17. But you know, then you have the repeat jobs. Now, you can hold it, but I should.
Ooh, that is
up.
hefty.
That's copper. So you can tell that it was most likely a repeat job because you would be doing it over and over again. And rather than go with magnesium, which is not as durable, go with copper. You get a really, really great dot pattern on these things as well. And it looks like something of an entry P. Well, it says main entrance. That gives you a lot right there.
Any idea what year these are from, roughly?
Well, they do vary a lot. So the problem that we run into is we almost need to look at the way they stylize the characters within them to get a sense of when they're from. It's while they worked in letterpress up until 1985, those characters tend to be quite easily recognizable. The artwork is different and it is more modern looking, which of course we don't care as much for now because modern from 1985 is pretty passe. I think that the bulk of what we're seeing is the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but so often there isn't any way to get any closer than that. You know, once in a while you start looking at the clothing, the dresses on the women in a fair scene will give you an idea of when that type of clothing was popular. You know, that's the tough part of it, is sometimes they don't have enough information. Obviously, stuff like automobiles are really helpful. This one is featuring someone.
Not the horse? The horse isn't the feature of that? No, just kidding.
Well, you know, you might be right. I don't see anybody on the horse. There's no information on the back. So, and it is alone, meaning I got no companions here to assist.
I do have some good questions. Do you mind answering them as you keep
No,
going?
that's great.
Great. So, Barb was wondering, would the half tone and the hand cut blacks be used in the same poster?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you can find certain posters, 4-color poster, that is, every one is hand carved wood. And then you can find some that are part wood, like that BD Cole. And then because there was fine line that needed to be done with it, you're going to go magnesium on certain colors. So yeah, there was always that chance that you were going to have different mediums, because you may want to finish it, meaning the black plate with great detail. And so that needed to be done with generally magnesium, but occasionally copper.
I might switch over to this action cam again so we can see a little close up.
Sure. Oh, man. Okay, so the fact that it's a folded poster makes me think that in fact it is that particular one, but we'll cut it and find out. Yeah. So the poster is, you know, obviously beyond repair, but it is nice. There's some really cool detail on that tiger.
Yeah.
And then even the bottom lettering isn't that nice. I like that use of really three colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, surrounded by black, which makes it very, uh, very pronounced.
Sweet.
So it's cool to have that kind of it. Now, Steph, if you don't mind focusing on the grass and how detailed some of those lines are, that's too much for wood, and even quite possibly some of the details on the tiger's face are so fine that they wouldn't attempt to do that in wood. So it goes back to, was it Barb's question?
Yeah, Barbara's asking about that.
So here we've got the red plate. No, we've got the gray plate, and that is carved wood. So this is really helpful for us because you've got number 1 and it says gray on it. So that's ideal, you know, because now you're beginning to get some sort of guidance as you move forward. Color number 2 is yellow, but that's in also wood. So, right, so what we're talking about here is somewhat typical. It doesn't say what order you run it in, but that's okay. You can use a loop and sometimes detect the order of printing, so that you've got ways to do it. The red plate is also carved wood. So here is a good example of what I was saying before. The other thing that you want to look at the knockout in the center.
Yeah.
It isn't knocked out on the back, but you can change out 3 ring for other information. And so now magnesium for the black or the key plate. So the procedure for us is to clean, vacuum, wipe off, photograph, mark on the side what we've got. So in other words, there are designations for a 4-color block, basically the size of it, whether it's a 1 or a 2 sheet or a window card or a banner. And then those get filed, but then those also get put into a database. But in this case, you can see maybe a little bit better detail. So now that you're looking at it, you can see why they would choose not to use wood, because it's just a better way to show detail. How are we doing for time?
Yeah. We are at 12:35.
All right. Well, we got time. We can keep going.
We do have more questions. Do you want to keep going and answering questions as you go?
Sure. I don't know what I'm looking at here, so you ask a question and I'll
Sweet.
clean this up.
Sounds good. So I'm going back a bit in the questions just so we can. Let's see. Do you find that the color plates are usually the same size for posters, or do you often find fragments?
Fragments?
I think when we were seeing bits and pieces, we don't always find them all the same size, and that is what adds to that kind of puzzle quality.
Right. So, you have things like a banner style. So those are sometimes solids. Those sometimes are broken into thirds. The larger the pieces, the more apt it is, or more likely it is that they might have particular pieces to it. So that could be for making it interchangeable, either by circus name or text. And so the sizes do break down still to standards, so that you have window cards and you have 2 sheet and you have 1 sheet. And then, like I said, the longer pieces. So you've got a lot of that, but it's pretty common that you would find fragments of things. A lot of it is pretty coherent, so that is helpful, but generally speaking, it's pretty hit and miss there.
Who's that guy?
Well, I'll let you read it because.
Sounds good. Parker and Watts Circus celebrate the popularity of the street parade with the most tremendous spectacle ever seen. So that's what you're going to see there. Big, free, gorgeous gala, Golden Street Parade at noon. Well, those next ones don't look like they belong to this block.
No, so that's that one is, I guess you could say, fragmented from the standpoint that Lord knows what that goes to. We've got a lot of those sort of mysteries around here. And this one is alone as well.
Poor girl.
So she's by herself, literally. And you can tell certainly that there are more colors to that. But in this case, there is also nothing on the back. So there is wherein the mystery is. The nice thing is the woman is recognizable, and therefore it'll be easier to find the other pieces. Sometimes we don't have that many clues.
Mm-hmm.
And
and the pieces could be the exact same size or just a portion.
That's right.
And that's what makes it really interesting and a little tough.
Yeah, because when you look at the negative space, you have, what is that, top left and lower right?
Mm-hmm.
And those could be triangular blocks for those things. No way to know that.
I hope she has a spectacular hat or headdress.
Well, she has a very relaxed look. She is quite demure. But so we'll what she is a great mystery.
I see a leg in the next one. Maybe that she belongs to it.
Well, that could be. It would definitely change her profile. So this is what is next. King Brothers Circus, and so if that is the woman, she's got hair, so there's that.
Can you hold it up on the other end, maybe? Huh.
So you got one leg extending down. You can see the second leg resting to the side of the knee. We may have a match.
Ooh, that key block's going to tell us more.
Right. So, good news. Wow. So here's a nice example of a fragment. This actually is all together. I'll give that to you, Steph.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this was 2 pieces when I picked it up. So that was together. Doesn't look like the gray. Yeah, it's a good fit. Okay. But now you begin to see what could have been a fragment if this gets separated from that. And fortunately, this one says black, but I would have known that. Anyway, so it looks like that could be the third color. And so you've got, to some extent, a little bit unusual color for her. It looks like it's almost a soft peach, which is for skin tone. But for just a moment, I want to look at this. I will, I'm going to clean this one because there's something that I'll have to look more into the origins of, but it is a little disturbing. And it has to do with clowns and the attentions that they give to women, which generally seem unwanted. And I know you're thinking, well, that's an old story, but it's still weird. Anyway, we can tilt that till it catches the light for them. There you go. So, you know, she's sitting there crossing her leg, and then, I don't know what that is, a clown with a cape on or something?
Polka dot jacket, maybe?
Yeah, so, you know, a scene that repeated all over, I suppose, but...
Leopard spots.
Leopard spots. But a little leery, definitely, right?
Yeah.
Like, not nice.
You know, and it's almost like what you would see in Marx Brothers movies, right? Harpo, the most clown-looking of them all, generally chasing women. And then there is your red plate. So that does kind of complete it. I can tell that these are the legs coming down, seated here, head there, clown over there. So one of the things that worries me about the entire collection is what can happen. Little bit of mold on the end of the block. Now this isn't seriously affecting it yet, but while this has ideal humidity in the winter, it doesn't have ideal humidity in the summer. And you can clean these just by wiping them, so it's not too big a deal. But of course, you know, you want to get to the whole collection, if only for that purpose alone.
Well,
yeah.
there was a good question. Terrence asked about, like, are we proofing? Are we getting them online? You know, we have a really great group of individuals who could digitally go through and help us do those tags. And we are in the process of proofing. That is why Tom Walker's here, is he's one of those individuals who's helping us proof the collection. And we're in the process of getting them online.
Right, right. So there are two simultaneous projects happening at the same time. One is the at the online collection, and Paul again is helping us with that. But that is one aspect of it. But then there's the overall cataloging, which is far more thorough. The great thing is one leads into the other, so that in a perfect world, you will be able to see these online. At present, I think we have maybe 900 completed records, remembering too that there are often many parts to an individual record, but you know, you need a really good printer. And so it's on us to make sure that we do it really well. Jim Sheridan, who was at Hatch for many years, has helped an incredible amount, because quite honestly, he knows more about this than I think anybody in the country. So that's kind of an advantage to us. Are there any other questions?
There are, especially if you have a multicolor.
Uh-huh.
Because Zen was asking about registration marks, which you've been printing a lot of these lately, and you can speak very much to if there are or are not registration blocks, Jim.
There are not registration marks or blocks anywhere. But that said, if you are working with, say, I don't know, 15 by 25 inch piece that's multicolor, what I've been learning is that you can really trust them. Their cutting is extremely precise, so that the volume of make ready I'm doing in terms of shifting, going from color 1 to color 2, really minor, really minor. So that they were very dead on with that cutting. But you know, when we think about offset work where you could put registration targets in the corner or something like that, you know, you kind of wish, but no such thing. Um, I typically attempt to register to the top left, in part because that turns into right reading, and I suspect they began there. And the other part is because I'm left-handed, and that's where I'm going to start. So, but anyway.
Are you guys dying to see what's in here? I just love that we can just see like a little bit of blue.
Blue. Blue. You know, and again, make ready, no use to us on the back, as far as I know. The rest of the block gives you at least a little more clue. So when you look at this, you start thinking, oh yeah, sky at the top. And then on the back it says Clyde Beatty Circus. So there's that. But on the other hand, it is in a box with Clyde Beatty. So here again, they're using magnesium because cutting that that type is fairly complex. So better to use magnesium because, well, you don't have to try and do that again.
And would that be hand cut type like that? Is that hand cut in the magnesium?
No, it isn't.
Okay, it's etched.
Yes.
Okay.
They merely cut around the edges, it seems to me.
Okay.
And so this is the remainder of the black. Let's see, if you put that flap down, then we'll give them more of a view. It fits in there somehow. Here is movable text. And so they just shoved 20 and 25 pica furniture in there. And so the two pieces come together, but again, you know, name is able to be separated. So if the Clyde Beatty Circus shifts to the Christiani Brothers again, you know, well, then so be it. But there's nice detail there in the lion and what do you got, lion tamer?
Yep. And it's interesting because now we can see that instead of clouds, right, we initially go, oh, clouds, because they're circular cutouts on the blue. And now we can see that there are circular elements that are in there instead. So that is a part of that, like making guesses as good as we can and then finding more information.
Yeah, and so the primary block, yep, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it does then look like clouds again once we get here, because you get this happening over on the left-hand side.
Right, and then suddenly this makes more sense.
Yep. Tom's asking, we say magnesium, he's more familiar with old cuts being zinc.
Well, that's a great point, and most likely, based on the weight of that one in particular, I would say zinc, because it was quite heavy. And it's true, magnesium was more of a cheaper successor to zinc. And, you know, all of us who have those miscellaneous cuts know that zinc can hold up for, I don't know, 50, 75 years, whereas magnesium will oxidize and then you're out of luck.
Another good question was, like, when we got the semi trucks, the 5 semi trucks, we had what, 107 pallets?
Or crates.
Crates.
Yeah.
And so somebody was asking, I think it was Ray, was asking like how many. We've got about 10 minutes. Maybe we can peek and see what else is in here. But maybe we can show that they didn't all look like this crate. Like sometimes they were stacks of cases of type. and sometimes they were just boxes of type. If you guys enjoyed this, let us know, because we can do this again, and maybe next time, if it says type on the outside, we're going to guess it means type. You know, we could open up some of those other things that we got and see what happens when we go through those.
Well, and you know, if you just pick up the laptop and show them what it's sitting on, you could spend days just with things like that. You know, wood and metal cuts all the way down. There's about 4 more, okay, maybe 8 more rows of those. You know, this one broke open. Well, this is Midnight Frolics. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. It's French burlesque, I guess. And it's right on top of this one, which is forgive the pun, a rather dirty Lily St. Cyr. America's most glamorous girl in her exciting portrayal of every maiden's secret dreams. So you got that. Okay, it's called Her Wedding Night. Well, anyway, so you can see that subject matter changes a bit. And, you know, you'd like this sort of thing to be as random as possible. And, you know, sometimes what you find is pretty good, and sometimes it's slaves in bondage, right? So they did printing for a lot of customers, apparently. But do you want to go over to the crate we had opened earlier?
I think so. So if you guys if any of you had joined us for the Make Ready conference, where we opened a crate, and we didn't get through it all, but Jim did take some of those and print them. And so we can actually see what happens, like after we do the unpacking and the cleaning, then we can see what they turn out to be.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just go with this camera since we've got it.
Okay.
So we're gonna go on a little trip. If you get seasick, look away.
I suppose this means I got to put that away.
Yeah, now that we've unpacked, we have to actually go through the whole thing. And as I walk by, you can see more and more and more that we are in the process of and still opening.
A very specific choice when we began this process, when Paul was here and we started, is I kind of looked hard for the ugliest container possible. And it wasn't, you know, to make him feel bad or anything. What I wanted to do is solve as many problems as possible. And the most random crate would force us into the most varied categories, styles, sizes, etc. And it truly was that. It's just that, I don't know, for the first couple of hours, we thought the whole thing was insurance company coloring books, which I lost my interest to a while ago.
Oh yeah, this is the crate that we started to open, I guess, a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
And so I figured I wanted to try something, and you know, while this is mostly for archival purposes, when this was tied onto the blocks, I thought, well, that is pretty cool. You don't even have to like roller skating to like that. So anyway, I decided I would try to print that. Now, if you look under the word rollers, it does say a star-studded before Rollicking Rink Review. I don't know how much they printed this, because even after me doing it, I consider this a pretty clean block. I mean, we can still see uninked areas. And so, you know, you wonder how popular it was. And again, in this case, I get the feeling it may be magnesium, but I am not sure. I don't want to tilt it because this is my lockup. And I plan on putting it away left locked. Anyway, it was a lot of fun to do, even though it was initially run on the white. I just didn't feel like printing on white. So I did a couple of things.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to take these off now. So I ran it the way I typically would with separations, but I chose to use a denim colored paper, and it turned out pretty well. But I'm also always looking for alternate ways of doing these things. So that, of course, makes me think of Jeff Waldvogel. And the reason for that is Jeff was kind enough to get us a lot of this stock called Chromatica. And it really, really pops on this sheet. I'm going to give it something of a white background to give you an idea, because this is a 27-pound stock. And so with an oil-based ink, you get really lovely colors with that stuff. So thanks, Jeff. I think he's there, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Excellent.
You're getting
Yes,
thumbs
good.
up.
I thought that was you. Well, in the process of running it, of course, I'm taking notes on everything in terms of how easily the blocks print or difficult, low spots, damages, things like that. And so every time I do it, I would now have pages that go into the archives. And I was talking before about how with Paul's assistance, we're entering this all into a database, and what we will then add to that will be those notes on condition of the blocks, because, well, if you want to print it again, it might be good to know that it's about 3 points off on one side, or whatever that is. So that's about all that I have done from this crate. Although the futuristic Joylan piece here might be kind of fun,
That's cool.
but another day. So,
What? That's a great way to end it.
all right.
That was perfect timing.
Whew.
Thank you all for joining us today. We didn't get heckled as much as I thought. You guys were on like really good behavior.
They were staggered by the stuff in those crates.
I
Thank
do
you
want to
so
say
much.
yeah.
I just said thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's
Man.
always good to see you guys.
Our pleasure. It,
Wonderful.
we only went halfway through that crate. I can go back there now and see what we missed. There's, probably gorillas and, I don't know, blood-sucking werewolves from Pennsylvania. You never know.
Well, we might officially end this, but we could go and peek for a minute or two, because it is always fun to look at the bottom if we can.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll pull one or two more.
Sure.
I do want to say thank you. If anyone could only stay with us an hour, you can stay on if you want. We might look at a block or two. I want to say thanks so much. I'll put some links over in the chat when we get back over there, because if you want to keep seeing programming like this, we really appreciate it. If you can become a member, it's how we keep our doors open, and it really shows your support. So thanks to all the members that are here, and thank you if you can become a member. We really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of type that we're always unloading in this collection too. We have everything from Catherine Free's students to individuals who just come for a day and help clean and organize. So when we're open again, we'll be looking for people to come in and help out.
Yep, we have internships, we have student groups who come, we have externships if you're not a student anymore, but you really want to help, that's a possibility. Catherine's on the call. She says they'll be back. That's
Good,
University of Indianapolis. So we appreciated you guys were here for a whole week and it was amazing. Let's see, next week we do have a new addition to the Ham Hang, because we didn't have anybody scheduled for next week, and so we filled it with a really, really good spot. I'm going to be working with Dory from Learning Letterpress again, and we're going to be talking to Rob, who is at French Paper. So we're talking all about paper next week. I think that's a really nice kind of feed into what we do. We talk about printing a lot, but we know we're printing on paper, so learning more about that process will be really good. And of course, Ways Goose is filling up. In fact, 2 of our workshops are already full. So if you want to get hands-on digitally the week before Ways Goose, you'll want to go sign up now because the spots are filling up. And then we've still got lots of spots in the wainscot. So I think we can walk over. I'll put those links in, and we might look
Great.
at a secret or two before we move on. So
All right.
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can stay with us if you want, though. Let's see. We had about 70 people.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. The rain seems like it stopped.
I know. It was getting a little loud in here.
It was. You guys could hear us all okay, couldn't you?
I was talking kind of loud.
I think that worked.
Could hear you just fine.
Good.
Excellent.
Hey, Stephanie, this is Val. Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
What do you do with the posters that are kind of messed up? Do you do any conservation work on them?
No, I thought that was, I saw you guys kind of chatting about that. Jim, well, I'll go get links if you want to chat about it.
Sure. We do keep everything, Val. So it's a really great question because the condition of the posters varies significantly from some of those today where I was afraid they would just fall away to those that need minor work. And so while I've taken paper conservation courses, that doesn't mean I'm remotely good at it, but we do things like travel to the Newberry and meet with their conservators to get ideas on what can be done with certain things. And unfortunately, you know, it's one of those things where there's just not enough time. And it doesn't just extend to the printed pieces if you've got them. It goes on to sometimes the condition of the blocks themselves. I have glued a number of blocks back together, nailed some of those things back down, but I am really careful in terms of keeping all of that stuff. And even fragments, I'm keeping for a 4x8 foot collage. So I won't get rid of much at all, but you know, here's one where it's really brown up here and it's so brittle that it'll flake away just because the edge of the crate was probably exposed to light. Interesting to me, having seen so many of these, she looks familiar. In other words, I think I printed her sister, which is only to say that the artist is the same for this as a number of other ones. And that's another thing that we have a tendency to look for. I've seen this both in Globe and in Enquirer Collections, that we begin to see the mark of an artist because they've done so many pieces. You begin to see, oh yeah, he always makes the noses a little too sharp or something like that. I'm not saying that in a critical way because the work is amazing, but you know, there's some stuff going on here. You can see we've got a sort of an odd shifting of that edge where it looks like it should be shoved that way, and then you go over to the other side and it's like, well, you can't shove it both ways, so now what do we do? But anyway, you know, the most I can hope to do is keep it safe and sound and hopefully clean until I can get to that. But it's just so much. It's just, you know.
And Val, that's the kind of work you're doing, right? When we see you working with those pieces, you're refurbing them?
Yeah, so the company that I'm working for is definitely more focused on restoration. So it's mostly private collectors, and we're washing, mounting them on paperback linen. And then I'm actually painting in things so that they look whole. It's a little different than straight up like museum conservation where you could just mount it because I'm actually going back in and touching them up, but it is all reversible with watercolor. But we've got some really bad condition posters, and even after just soaking them and washing them and then mounting them onto the paperback linen with wheat paste, I mean, they look amazing. And then you can get into like going back and filling in missing parts and stuff. And most of the stuff that we do tends to be chromolithographs, but we have had some woodcuts in. His collectors tend to be like magician posters and stuff. So, but there is one guy who's been sending in circus posters who's working on a book that's going to be amazing. And we're mounting and restoring all the posters so they look brand new for this book.
Wow.
I'm so
Happy to talk about it if you want to talk about anything later. That's something that I would definitely love to help with. So
I think you should start thinking about next year's vacation and what you're going to do, because it'd be nice to have you here.
yeah, well, I definitely need to come back, so we'll stay in touch for sure.
Nice. That's awesome.
I mean, that's beautiful.
It is.
That girl. Maybe I'll do, I can go to the action cam for just a minute, or I can hold this guy up just so we can kind of see. That rhino is great.
It is. And I think I've got a print of that, which is pretty good. But, you know, there's some nice detailing in there. You know, we know so much about circuses now. And, you know, you learn about things that you really never thought you'd care about. And maybe when you're done, you still don't. I mean, I'm interested in things like Helen Howe, the exploding woman, but, you know, that's different. But this is, you know, sometimes what you think about, there are so many people on the call even who are interested in printing in rather abstract ways. And when you look at some of these, you begin to think about printing in abstraction. And, you know, it'll take me a lifetime just to run them the way they were intended, but it is tempting to begin thinking about these in a completely different way. We do have a massive, and by that I mean 10 feet wide, 8 feet high, of just a cowboy's head and shoulders. I can't remember his name anymore. Anyway, we don't have all of the colors. And so the top of his hat is yellow and the other half is white, and one shoulder is black and the other shoulder is yellow. Well, this massive thing looks very much like an Andy Warhol image, and you start thinking, yep, I can see where that comes from. And you could merely print it the way it looks. And that is such a wonderful option with the big billboard pieces, in that, you know, I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. I now have 8-foot paper, so I got that going for me. But, you know, it would be interesting to try. It's an end roll, probably from Appleton, coded through Jeff and Fairco. But, you know, you got to print it on the floor. So, well, I haven't gotten around to that yet, but that would be a lot of fun. Well,
Yeah, it might be time.
all right.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks, that was awesome. Looking forward to the next time.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Very cool.
All right.
Cool. Bye, everybody.
Come on.
Bye. Thank you.
Very well.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.